Let me take a minute to just say thank you as we put the call out just a couple days ago to fill a room like this on such short notice. Makes me proud to be able to lead this 14,500 member organization, so thank you very much. I'd like to take a minute to thank State Senator John Sabatino for coming out, Representative Mike Driscoll, Dennis O'Brien, who is our councilman at large up in this area. Representative Nielsen is out of town. He sent his beautiful wife Doris, who's in the back, with Pat Parkinson. Thank you, Ed. Les Neary, our state president and also national FOP vice president. Also makes me proud to stand with a true partner and leader that we have in Dave Fisher of the National Association of Black Police Officers, who stands with us on this legislation. Thank you, Dave. And a good friend to every police officer in this district up here who is going to lead the charge for this legislation, my friend and your state representative, Martina White.
Thank you very much, John. And thank you to all of you who have come here today to hear about this piece of legislation that is also very important to all of our officers throughout our state of Pennsylvania. Our police officers represent the law. To enforce the law is an enormous responsibility, and we must show our men and women in blue the respect that they deserve for having the courage to risk their lives to protect us and our communities. Their job is not only difficult, but it requires split-second decisions that can save the lives of others. I know many of us think that our local police officers, that they are invincible, and rightly so, because they are truly heroes. What we need to remember, though, is that these men and women are humans, just like you and I. They have families who worry about them and wonder whether they will walk through the front door at the end of the day. They are mothers and fathers, sisters and brothers, sons and daughters, neighbors, friends, and Americans. As Americans, we know that all citizens, including our police, are protected by the constitutional right to due process, not to have their fate determined by the media or a mob with a political agenda. They and their families have the right to security. We must not expose our law enforcement officials to the exact situations that they try to prevent us from experiencing, such as harassment and violence. I am introducing legislation this Friday to help fix a broken system that for too long has left our officers and their families in a vulnerable position. This legislation is powerful, and not only because it has bipartisan support, but because it helps protect the lives of those who protect us. In fact, 41 legislators are already co-sponsors. Supporting this bill means protecting the identity of an officer while he or she is being investigated for discharging a firearm or using force in the line of duty until criminal charges have been brought against the officer. Once the investigation is complete, criminal charges have been filed, and the life of the officer and his or her family are no longer in danger, then it is to the discretion of the public official to disclose the officer's information. Unfortunately, criminals threaten the well-being of our officers every day. Our own public officials shouldn't be the ones handing over officers' information which can lead criminals to them and their families, where they can take vengeful actions. It's wrong, and now is the time to do something about it. Today, more than ever, our law enforcement officials need to know that we as a Commonwealth stand with them and support them for the noble work that they do. In showing our support for the sacrifices that they take and make on our behalf, we are taking a position that serves to protect them and their families the way that they have always done for us. Thank you. And now, John, if you'd like to make some comments. Thank you.
I don't know what more you can say than what Martina just said. She's got our backs. when it comes to this legislation. All you have to do is turn on the TV. Saw what happened in Chicago yesterday. You look last week, take a look and see what happened in Texas with the sheriff that was assassinated while pumping gas. We're not asking to reinvent the wheel in this legislation. We're asking for fairness. We're asking to protect our families, protect the children, protect us. We're out there protecting the community, and it seems like today, with this new policy of releasing officers' names within 3 days, is absolutely insane and absurd. They see it one way, we don't. There's no rush to judgment. Officers don't go to work every day looking to discharge their weapons or to take somebody's life. We're out there to do the job and to protect the community. This legislation is going to protect us by enabling our names to be withheld. In today's day and age with technology, to be able to Google somebody's name and find out where they live, it's absurd. So with that, I'd like to thank everybody for coming on short notice, and we're going to stand for any questions that anybody may have right now.
Can you point to any specific examples in which a police officer who was involved in a shooting had some kind of safety threat after that incident?
If you'd like to.
This policy went into effect just a short time ago. We have officers that were involved in the 15th District, involved in a shooting where they were cleared. The community supports the officers that were involved. There was a gun taken off the streets. We were not called there. We were doing our job. Those officers were put in danger with their names being released. And I believe that we have a couple other incidences where we had cars on officers' house, 24-hour protection to make sure that they were safe.
Well, Commissioner Ramsey said himself that if there was some kind of danger to the officer or the family, that the name would be shielded. So it seemed like he had a built-in protection. Is that not enough?
Listen, he believes that what he's doing is correct. We obviously do not. Everybody in this room obviously does not. It's that clear. Anybody, including myself, can drive a desk and feel that somebody's protected. I'm not on the street. He's not on the street. Turn around and take a look. These officers are on the street. Any further questions?
Do you feel like the officers are in more danger now because of the things that have happened recently with other officers?
Absolutely. I don't believe that our job has gotten any easier. Not only do you have to, any call that an officer goes on at any time, whether it's day, night, morning, whatever day, Sunday, Monday, it doesn't matter. You go out, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's on the other side of that door. You don't know what you're walking into, but it makes it a little bit more difficult today because you actually have to look over your shoulder. Take a look in Texas. The officer was pumping gas. He's not even answering a call. Yesterday, an officer in Chicago, just outside the suburbs of Chicago, stumbles on the 3 men who they're still hunting for. Not only is he ambushed, he's stripped of his equipment. We have families too. We're not asking, for the world. We're asking for fairness, and that's it.
John, where do you draw the line between the public's right to know the identities of an officers involved in a questionable shooting and the protection of those officers?
I believe what has been working well for years. I'm not asking to shield the officer's name. We're not asking to put to cover the officer. We're not asking for complete anonymity. What we're asking for is basically when an officer's involved in a shooting, that they don't release the name within 72 hours. The investigation's not even dry yet. They don't even know in some cases, what direction they're going in. If it's a bad shooting, the officer's name's going to be out there in a heartbeat, as it always is. But if it's a good shooting, there's no reason to release a name like we had last week in the 18th District with the officer who who unfortunately has to take a life, and then 3 days later, his name's on the front page of the Inquirer, Daily News, and every news station. We're asking for the dust to settle. We're asking for the investigation to be complete, and then release what you need to release. It will be up to the person in command. But again, to release it within 72 hours makes no sense, and it just puts everyone in this room in danger.
I would like to ask the news media to turn some of them cameras around, show them who's out here, the support behind all this.
Thank you. I'd like to ask everybody here also to take a look around and see who's here from the elected body in the city of Philadelphia and around the city. Follow this bill, both through the House and Senate, and see who supports it and who does not. Remember who introduced this bill. Next year, where there's all kinds of nonsense being flared around about who did what and who didn't do what. We know, and I will make sure that you remember who stood behind the Philadelphia Police Department. Thank you.
If there's no further questions, we're going to conclude this press conference, and we appreciate your attendance. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much for your support.